You're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network of podcasts.
You're listening to GeekCast Radio on GeekCastRadio.com. Megatron, Phillips Mike, TFG1 Blanchard, and Michael Powers.
Hello and welcome to the GeekCast Radio Network and the Lunch Table's Decade in Review. I am your host, TFG1 Mike. I'm joined by Michael Powers. Hello.
Hello.
From the Lunch Table Podcast.
The mythical Lunch Table Podcast.
Pretty much non-existent Lunch Table Podcast for the most part. And as usual, Steve Megatron.
It's in a cocoon.
What do you mean, as usual?
Well,
like a bad thing.
Don't get this. Don't even. This is not Headshot. You're gonna have to close off your anger for a.
And regretfully, Steve Megatron.
Yes.
Today we're reminiscing on the first decade of the new millennium as it is ending this year. This episode will go up December 31st, 2009. So, how are you, Steve? Can you?
I'm not getting into that issue, but yeah, for the most part, doing fine.
Okay. And Michael, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking over your fabulous show notes and realizing that I must have been asleep for the last decade. A lot of this stuff is like over my head. I don't follow politics in any way, shape, or form.
All right. Well, when I originally got the research for it, I wanted to include like world events or U.S. like national events. Not really more so politics, but like, okay, 9/11 for example. Just stuff that has happened throughout this entire decade. Whether it be national news, world news, sports, movies, video games, music, whatever. And that was the goal in the research. We're not going to talk about every single topic. Actually, we're going to start. We're going to start to show off very morbidly because we are going to be talking about deaths in the decade. In the year 2000, several deaths pop out at me. Steve Allen. Let's see. Alec Guinness, who was Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars trilogy. Let's see. Walter Matthau.
See, this is weird. This is like these names. They land on me when you mention them.
Yeah.
But they're not like I know who they are.
Yeah.
And when they died, when it originally happened, it hit me as somewhat like, oh, we lost something great. But it's like, now I realize how, like, I guess not to sound morbid or whatever, but like how little it actually meant to me at the time. I was like, oh my god, we lost the guy that played Obi-Wan Kenobi. But now it's like, oh my god, I forgot that guy died.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I completely agree with that. The other one I was going to mention for 2000 was Charles Schultz, who created the Peanuts comic strip. Honestly, I'm the same way as you, Michael. When I first heard about these, I was shocked all to hell. But now looking back, I'm like, oh my god, he's dead. I think that I may put a call out to the listeners. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this or not. I know how hard it is for people to really talk about it, but I was thinking about getting people's where were you when September 11th, 2001 happened? Because
that's been done.
Well,
there should be a Wikipedia page for that somewhere where everyone got together and wrote down what they were doing.
All right. Well,
you can do it if you want. I think that's been like overdone. I mean, I can tell you where I was. I was sleeping. my grandma woke me up when it happened, and she's like, a plane flew into the tower. And I had just watched some documentary on him like 2 weeks before about how they were designed for planes to fly into them or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's fine, whatever. And she goes, no, this is serious. And I came upstairs and, there's smoke coming out of like Tower 1. And then, they had the cameras were there when the plane flew in the Tower 2. And I was like, holy crap. What the hell's going on?
I was on when I had the TV muted. I was watching. I think I just randomly had it on NBC, and I was living in Massachusetts at the time, and I was talking to some girl, and I was like, oh wow, they're showing film footage from some new movie or something, and then I started reading the ticker on the bottom part of the screen. I'm like, you need to turn your TV on right now, and I will call you back in 10 minutes. Because I realized, holy crap, somebody just attacked the Twin Towers in New York. Where were you, Steve? Do you even remember?
Yes, I remember. All right, smartass. But anyways, yes, I remember where I was. I was in 9th grade English class.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Steve is so much younger than us.
Rub it in.
How old are you, Steve?
23.
Oh, never mind. Oh, yeah, don't make me feel bad.
I'll be turning 30 next year.
Never mind.
Shut up.
Oh, you're older than me. I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah, I'm oldest, pretty much.
It's like, rub it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Old man.
Just looking at the 2001 death list, George Harrison, one of the Beatles, Dale Earnhardt, oh wow, I did not know this. Walter Matthau died 1 year before Jack Lemmon did. Jack Lemmon died in 2001. The only reason why I put those two together all the time is because they did in Grumpy and Grumpier Old Men.
Oh, those are two amazing movies.
Yep. Robert Ludlum passed away. Carol O'Connor. Yeah. That's pretty much all the ones that I recognize out of the 2001 one. I don't know. We may not go through all these. I may just fast forward and go to the most recent ones. I'm just kind of looking through here and seeing if I forget when did Thomas die. That's going to bug the hell out of me. Johnny Cash died in 2003. Gregory Hines died in 2003. Just looking through these lists of the different years, I have to say the list for 2009, it takes up almost a page and a half. Just some of the major ones. Michael Jackson.
Pretty substantial.
Yeah, Michael Jackson, Walter Cronkite, B. Arthur, Billy Mays, Ed McMahon, Farrah Fawcett, David Carradine, Ted Kennedy, Patrick Swayze, John Hughes, Pat Hingle, Commissioner Gordon from the Batman films, Ron Silver, Natasha Richardson, Dom DeLuise, just a whole bunch of people. The most recent, I think, that's been in the news was Brittany Murphy. She died at 32. But she's very young to be passing away.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, she was a celebrity, and usually celebrity, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but most celebrity deaths end up result of drug something or other. I was actually really pissed at the news media because Ed McMahon died. Ed McMahon, Farrah Fawcett, and Michael Jackson all died in the same week. Ed McMahon died on the Tuesday or Wednesday. And that Thursday, Farrah Fawcett passed away.
And then a couple hours later, it was Michael Jackson, and then everybody just completely forgot about Farrah Fawcett.
Exactly, and that pissed me off to no end. Go ahead, Michael.
I have to say, it's okay. I I think one of the reasons why, and I could be completely wrong here, but I think Michael Jackson overshadowed everything for the simple fact that I think he was more globally known. Like, I could be wrong. I don't think Ed McMahon or Farrah Fawcett had as much global exposure or, as Michael Jackson did. I think that's one of the reasons why he may have overshadowed everything. Because that's somebody that, like, the entire world knows. Which is like a country.
I agree.
I could be wrong.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but the thing is, McMahon, he had passed away. The news coverage was a few days before this had happened. Farrah Fawcett passed away the Thursday morning. Michael Jackson passed away. I mean, the news started trickling down at 3:30 in the afternoon that afternoon because I was at the movie theater. I don't even remember what the hell had gone to see, but I was watching on the screen, and I'm like, okay, Michael Jackson died. I understand he is one of the biggest music icons ever, but as soon as the news of his death came down, it's like they swept Farrah Fawcett's story under the rug. They didn't even give it even 1 second more of airtime as soon as the Jackson thing hit. And that's what pissed me off. I understand, and I like a lot of Michael Jackson's music that he made in the 80s. Don't get me wrong, I do. And I think he pretty much defined who he was and defined a lot of the music in the 80s. I'm not saying anything bad about the guy, but still, I think the news media handled it wrong. I just do.
I don't think the news media handles anything correctly. I just,
True.
what was I going to say? I had that on the tip of my tongue. Whatever. If I think about it, I'll just blurt it out later. It'll be completely out of context and probably not making any sense, but I'll do it anyways.
The other one that I'm at on the two list that I recognize was Captain Lou Albano, who is a pro wrestler as well as the live-action Mario and the voice of Mario in Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yes.
Yes, that was very sad. I think that hit me more than Michael Jackson.
Yeah, because I remember watching that show when I was younger.
Yeah.
I remember watching that show too, but it didn't land on me.
To each their own. I
think I as a kid I would much rather actually be playing Super Mario Bros. And see some guy running around in red overalls.
Well,
that's just me.
No, have you ever seen the Super Mario Brothers Super Show?
Like I said, when I was young, so I don't. I just remember some guy in a red jumpsuit.
Right, Captain Lou, and I forget, and of course, Dion. My buddy Dion's going to kill me once he hears this because he's going to be screaming through his iPod or whatever he listens to this on. It's this guy, but Captain Lou and whoever played Luigi, it was live action segments. So basically take Saturday Night Live with the live segments and put a cartoon in instead of the skits. So that would be a beginning part of the live segment, and then they would cut to a cartoon episode, back to the live segment, and then cut to another cartoon episode. So it wasn't just live. It wasn't just all live action Mario Brothers.
I know it was broken up with cartoons and stuff. I mean, I know what the format was like. I'm just saying I don't remember it that well. It's like, I don't know, it's not.
It was Danny Wells that was Luigi, by the way.
That's what I thought it was.
Somebody has a computer.
Yeah.
Somebody's on IMDb.
Oh, well. So, I'm trying to think where we want to go from here. I guess we can get the money issue out of the way. This decade has been the worst one for economics, I think.
We had a lot and we lost it all.
Exactly.
I think that says it very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Where'd it go?
The economy, especially this year in 2009, has just taken a complete and utter failing. I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. One of the deaths I didn't mention was Saddam Hussein. George Sr. tried to get him back in the late 80s, early 90s, couldn't do it, so he had to bribe everybody to have his son elected so his son could go get him and have him assassinated or executed. Or
well, he wasn't assassinated,
Whatever.
per se. He was killed by his own people. There was the hanging video on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
Because I watched it. As morbid as that is.
Well, you know, I just think it's very sad that it took the son to do what the father couldn't, as far as our presidents go. And I'm sorry, George W. Bush was probably the worst president that we've had. You know?
Looked like a monkey and choked on a pretzel.
And that kind of leads me into the next president. Honestly, personally, I would have much rather have had Hillary. What is this moron doing to our country?
Annihilation.
It's like brutal death, fatality. There's some crap like that for Mortal Kombat. Oh my god.
I have two stances on this whole presidential thing.
Okay.
One, I didn't vote, so I can't complain. And two, well, actually, I guess I have three. One, I didn't vote, so I can't complain. Two, none of his policies have directly affected me yet, in any way that I know of. And three, it takes a lot longer than 1 year to clean up the mess that a previous administration made.
True. I will give you that, but...
In fact, I believe that the 4-year policy for the presidential thing is a complete joke. Because by the time you're actually able to do anything as president, you're either reelected and you get to see the fallout from it, or you're not reelected and somebody else has to clean up your mistakes. Or the next person takes credit for what you did in your administration.
Exactly. But I honestly don't think I don't think Obama is making any efforts to clean up any of the mistakes that Bush Jr. made, or whatever the hell his name is. I just don't. I think he's making more mistakes on top of more mistakes and more mistakes. And we're not going to really talk about this too much in this episode because, honestly, personally, all politicians are corrupt. I don't care who it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's my stance, and that will always be my stance. You know, and people may say whatever they want to about me about the following statement that I'm going to make. Honestly, I am very surprised that Obama has not been assassinated yet. I'm extremely surprised that he hasn't. Because I know for a fact when he got elected, there was a lot of people that were pissed off about it.
There's still people that are pissed about it.
Sure.
But there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
Unless you want to go to jail.
That's true. That's true. Where do we want to go from here? I don't really want to talk about energy crisis. I guess we can...
Oh, yes. Energy crisis. Those are fun.
Do we really want to talk about the energy crisis?
No.
Okay.
You see how much I had to say about the presidential stuff? I have less to say about the energy crisis.
No, I know.
He's like, I'm waiting until the video game and movie section rolls around.
Science and technology is kind of cool. We'll go into that. Technological advancements have been revolutionary and diversified as previous decades. In the field of digital electronics, advancements have been considerable. Mobile phones, digital cameras, digital audio players become household items over the course of a few years. Email and broadband internet connections have become nearly ubiquitous to the industrialized world.
Yet we still lag behind everybody.
Dun dun dun.
Some of the most popular and successful online internet sites for search engines of the 2000s include Wikipedia, Google, Yahoo, Amazon, eBay, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And if I had to put those in any order, I wouldn't have Yahoo in there at all. And I think I would leave it with Google, Twitter, Facebook, and maybe Flickr.
As far as electronics and communications, of course, the iPhone, the 2000s, saw a rise in PDAs and high-speed internet. The digital audio player began steadily climbing popularity due in most part of the iPod, which cemented itself as a cultural and technological icon of the 2000s. You know, I love the iPhone. Unfortunately, I no longer have my iPhone. It's a whole other long story that won't be talked about here, but honestly, I my own personal opinion, the iPhone is the ultimate cell phone. That I feel about it. If I could afford it, I would still have it.
I'm going to agree with you on the iPhone. I mean, I'm an Apple fanboy. I will stand out in the middle of the road and shout that until someone hits me with a car. But the iPhone is actually the easiest phone I've ever actually used, and I don't even use it that much as a phone. So
I'll put it to you this way: I have the Samsung Behold through T-Mobile now, and I could text faster on my iPhone than I can on this thing.
Now here's a question: if you can answer this without going off on a wild tangent, why didn't you just unlock the iPhone and take it to T-Mobile?
Because I didn't think about it at the time, and I needed money.
Okay, just ask.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I would get one, except I'm on Verizon, and I don't want to pay the data plan.
Yeah.
Because I'm cheap.
I guess we can kind of bring up software in the 2000s.
Let's see.
Vista.
Windows XP.
yeah.
Vista.
Yeah, really.
Windows 7. See, this is where I really come in, because now I can sit here and go, well, now there's been 6 versions of the Mac operating system in the last decade, where there's only been 3 for Microsoft.
Right, but the Mac the OS X, or the OS X Leopard, or Snow Leopard, or whatever the hell they're calling it now, just from what I've seen, because I haven't actually, unfortunately I don't have a Mac. I want a Mac. If anybody wants to buy me a Mac, you can email me at tfg1podcast@gmail.com.
Insert shameless plug here.
Exactly. Just from what I've seen from Macs, they seem to be more... I mean, I'm a Windows guy. It works for me. But Macs look so much easier to use, and they don't...
They are.
Crap out. When I'd be in the middle of playing Grand Theft Auto, the game will freeze and the computer will completely shut down by itself. Yeah, I need a...
Not to go off down the Mac road, but one thing, I've never had a single program knock out my entire computer, ever. The Mac that I bought 5 years ago now still runs just as well as the day that I bought it.
See.
And the operating system, if I sit down to use a Windows computer, I get frustrated within 5 minutes.
Yeah, see, that's like when Apple first switched from being like Apple IIe or Apple IIc, when it switched from being Apple to Macintosh, before we got the whole iMac thing, I was extremely frustrated because by the time Macintosh came around, I was back using IBM and Windows and whatever else, and I was just so frustrated with Mac. So I feel your pain on the reversal of that. I don't know. I just...
Well, with that said, I do have Windows 7 on my Mac right now. I use it...
All right, explain to me. No one has ever really explained this to me. Why the hell, if you have the Mac operating system on your Mac, which is what it's supposed to run on, why the hell would you put a Windows operating system on your Macintosh or your Apple computer when everyone says, "Oh, I hate Windows"?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to say it in hopes that it's not going to start an argument. If it is going to start an argument or any kind of thing like that, I am just going to say my piece and not add anything to it, so you'll be talking to yourself. Yeah. But with the Mac computers, I believe that you're paying for what you are getting. You're not just paying for the operating system, you're paying for the computer as a whole. You're paying for that nice aluminum enclosure, the glass screen, the top-of-the-line stuff, those Windows ads that they ran like earlier in the year where they gave someone like $500 or $1,000 and they pitted them against the Mac and they made the Macs look really expensive. Right. The computers that they walked out with were pieces of crap compared to what you would get for, in a Mac. Okay? Now you do pay more, but I believe you pay for what you get. And there are people that are willing to pay for premium hardware and a premium enclosure but still want to be able to run Windows. And as popular as Mac has become, Windows is still the dominant operating system in the workforce. So if you can have one computer and spend your home life on a Mac, and then you can go into the work office and take your same computer and boot into Windows and work from it. You're far better off than carrying two computers around with you.
Okay. I get that.
Well, I can see that because 90% of the computers that have Windows on it, unless they're self-built or the top of the line of any of the PC lines, are complete garbage.
Let's also not forget that PC Mag says that Windows 7 runs best on a Mac.
Well, it'll run on a laptop better than Vista and give it more battery life as well, so...
Computer-generated imagery is also known as CGI software, is widely used to create films such as Transformers and, what's another film I can bring up? I guess I can bring up G.I. Joe, because I'm not talking about...
Avatar.
Shut the fuck up. We're not talking about that fucking film.
Wait, why aren't we talking about Avatar?
I don't know. I've just heard so many bad things about it.
I've heard
really?
good things.
Yeah.
I've not heard anything bad about it.
I don't know.
I mean, I see the comment sections on, like, critic websites and stuff like that about people, like, hating the movie, but, like, critics and stuff and, like, people I work with and anyone that I've seen the movie with has actually loved it. I've never had someone to my face say that they don't like it, so... I mean, I don't care for the 3D. I think 3D is overrated.
Yeah, I think that's mainly what I was hearing from people and reading online was that they didn't really... that they think it sucked because of the 3D thing.
Well, yeah, that's... we're reading different websites with different, obviously different readers and stuff like that. So, but to each their own. I mean, I didn't care for the 3D. I didn't care for IMAX 3D. I think the real D, the regular theater 3D looks better than the IMAX 3D. But whatever. But yeah, you can quote Avatar as being CG. You can do Transformers. You could do any of the Pixar movies over the last decade.
Yeah.
Batman.
Actually, Batman used relatively little CG.
Yeah, it didn't use a whole lot.
There was actually on the Batman Begins DVD and Blu-ray, there's a behind-the-scenes thing where they the scene where he drops down through the staircase with all the bats in Arkham.
Yeah.
They actually there was a special effects company that was like, we can do that with computers, and they went through the entire process of rendering that shot with a computer, saying that they could do it, and Christopher Nolan just went ahead and did it live action. He doesn't. That's one of the things that made the Batman movie so good is his very limited use of CG.
Oh yeah.
But you know, the CG had its dark period at the beginning of the decade. 3 movies, the Star Wars prequels, those come to mind as really poor CG.
Yes. Horrible.
I like the first and the third one.
I'm sorry.
I didn't really care for the second one.
I liked the last half of the second one and the first half of the third one.
I'd have to agree with you.
See, I like the last half of the third one because
I like that too.
It shows you him getting put in the suit, and I think that was cool.
That's fine. But what I'm saying, I don't like the last half of the third movie because basically that movie is divided into 2 halves. Something that is the first half, which is really freaking sweet, all right? And then they sat down and they were watching the dailies for their movie, and they're like, "Oh my God, Lucas, this is amazing! You've actually made a movie! Holy crap! But what you have here does not match up with episode 4." And they went, "Oh my God." So the last half of the movie is, how many crammed-in connections can we get from this movie into episode 4? Where the hell does the Carillion Corvette come from? Everything is high gloss and stainless steel and chromed out and bling and everything, and then you've got the Carillion Corvette that a senator is riding in. Where does that come from?
And then you hit episode 4 and everything's old and rusty.
I'm sorry. As far as I know, things shouldn't rust in space.
That is true.
I could be wrong. So why does a Carillion Corvette look like shit 16 years later? Or why does a brand new one look the same? Well, I guess that explains. So they made the new Carillion Corvette out of rusted metal so that it would look the same 16 to 18 years later.
Since we have kind of gone into the whole film discussion, I'm looking for the list of the top grossing films. Okay, here we go. Highest grossing films. The list has more than films top looking at me of the year. Okay. The number one grossing film, according to this, unfortunately, is Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Whoa, why do you say fortunate? Okay, never mind.
Unfortunately, because the only return is of the Jedi, damn it.
You know what, I actually was going to say that I think that was like the best film series of the decade was the Lord of the Rings movies.
Well, I can't believe The Dark Knight isn't the top grossing one. But
it was good, but it wasn't. That third Lord of the Rings was pretty kick-ass.
Yes.
I'm just not into that whole...
I can't get into the first one. The second one's good. Then the third one's like Battle Royale. It's awesome.
Totally agree. The first one is the hardest one to get through. Especially on the extended editions.
Shrek 2 ranked at number 9. Spider-Man 3 ranked at number 11.
Now that's sad.
Yes.
Spider-Man 3 shouldn't be considered for top grossing movies ever.
Star Wars Episode 3 ranked at 16.
What was number 2?
Number 2...
Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
So wait, where does Batman fit into this? Because I thought, are these adjusted grosses? Because I thought Batman was I thought Dark Knight was the top.
Dark Knight's number 3.
Really?
Where the
Okay.
hell's Titanic on this list?
Titanic was 97.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is not this decade.
Shrek
2? Ugh.
Yeah, Shrek 2. Pretty much all of the Harry Potter films are on this list. Revenge of the Fallen ranked at 17, and the first Transformers film ranked at 27.
You know what's really weird? If you look at this list, and you look at the top 10s, the best movies are the... People say that sequels don't do that well, right? But the best movies on this list are the sequels in the franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, either the second or the...
The only one that has the first movie on here is Harry Potter.
Yeah. One of the things I think is very most interesting out of the film research that I did was the highest grossing film per year. In 2000 was Mission Impossible 2, which, yeah, that was a pretty good film. 2001 was a Harry Potter movie, or whatever.
Harry Potter's good. Leave it alone. It's getting better anyway.
2003 was Lord of the Rings, the two sequels, or squeakles, or whatever you want to call them. 2004 was Shrek 2. 2005 was another Harry Potter movie. 2006 was a Pirates film. So was 2007. 2008 obviously was Dark Knight, and unfortunately another Harry Potter film for 2009.
Well, wait,
Damn.
Shrek 2 beat out Spider-Man 2? That's amazing.
That's hilarious.
Well, you gotta remind. Well, yeah, I don't know. Top grossing films per year. Yeah, that is kind of amazing that Shrek 2 beat out Spider-Man 2. I guess we can kind of go up to the music portion of this, which is above the films, because I want to talk about the music of this decade, because I found out something that made me very, very sad the other day when I was reading through this research. Billboard lists Eminem as the artist of the decade. Oh, God. Kill me now.
I can agree with that.
Eminem is considered the male artist of the decade and biggest hip-hop act. Eminem is also the best-selling artist of the decade as well as the best-selling hip-hop artist of all time, selling over 75 million albums.
And what have we learned from this, boys and girls? That controversy sells product.
Exactly. It's at the bottom here. He joins the list with Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Elton John, Michael Jackson, and Mariah Carey, who have also been awarded with this prestigious honor in the respective decades. Now, comparing the last 3 decades, which is Eminem, Mariah Carey, and Michael Jackson, I'm sorry, there are plenty of other individual artists that probably came out in this decade that were much better than Eminem.
At the moment, I can't really think of any.
I can't either, unfortunately, and it's kind of sad because we're kind of contradicting ourselves here. But I just
Well, you said the last 3 decades was Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, and Eminem, and I was going to say one of these things is not like the other. And out of the 3 people you listed, the only one I don't care for is Mariah Carey.
Well, yeah, she got it for the 90s. Michael Jackson got it for the 80s. I'm actually surprised that Britney Spears didn't get it for the 90s, considering she hit big in late 80s. But
well, Eminem's had a lot of records this last decade too.
Yeah, that is true. I'm not one that likes rap music all that much, so.
I like his.
His is hilarious.
Yes, it is.
If I want a rapper, I'm going to listen to Weird Al.
Oh yeah, because that's rap.
Well,
that's polka rap.
Yeah, there you go, polka rap. There's a new musical genre for you.
He's got the white nerdy.
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys have anything else musically that you want to talk about?
No.
Negative.
I didn't really have a problem with any of the music of the last decade. If I didn't like it, I just changed the radio station.
You know
that's when I.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say that's why I stopped listening to the radio and actually started listening to podcasts.
I actually had satellite radio for 2 years. That was actually the best time ever.
Yeah, I honestly don't listen to radio anymore, and I will explain that after we come back from this break.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I repeat, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We're gonna have a problem here.
Y'all act like you never seen a white person before. Jaws all on the floor like Pam, like Tommy just burst in the door and started whooping her ass worse than before. They first were divorced, sewing her over furniture. It's the return of the... Oh, wait, no, wait, you're kidding. He didn't just say what I think he did he? And Dr. Dre said... Nothing, you idiots. Dr. Dre's dead. He's locked in my basement. Feminist women love Eminem. Chicka, Slim Shady. I'm sick of him. Look at him walking around, grabbing his you-know-what, flipping the you-know-who. Yeah, but he's so cute, though. Yeah, I probably got a couple of screws up in my head loose, but no worse than what's going on in your parents' bedrooms. Sometimes I want to get on TV and just let loose, but can't. But it's cool for Tom Green to hump a dead moose. My bum is on your lips. My bum is on your lips. And if I'm lucky, you might just give it a little kiss. And that's the message that we deliver to little kids and expect them not to know what a woman's clitoris is. Of course they're gonna know what intercourse is. By the time they hit 4th grade, they got the Discovery Channel, don't they? We ain't nothing but mammals. Well, some of us cannibals who cut other people open like cantaloupes. But if we can hump dead animals and antelopes, then there's no reason that a man and another man can't elope. But if you feel like I feel, I got the antidote. Women wave your pantyhose, sing the chorus and it goes. I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Will Smith don't got a cuss in his raps to sell records. Well I do, so fuck him and fuck you too. You think I give a damn about a Grammy? Half of you critics can't even stomach me, let alone stand me. But Slim, what if you win? Wouldn't it be weird? Why? So you guys can just lie to get me here, so you can sit me here next to Britney Spears? Shit, Christina Aguilera better switch me chairs so I can sit next to Carson Daly and Fred Durst and hear them argue over who she gave head to first. Little bitch put me on blast on MTV. Yeah, he's cute, but I think he's married to Kim. I should download her audio on MP3 and show the whole world how you gave him an MVD. I'm sick of you little girl and boy groups, all you do is annoy me, so I have been sitting here to destroy you. And there's a million of us just like me, who cuss like me, who just don't give a fuck like me, who dress like me, walk, talk, and act like me, and just might be the next best thing, but not quite me. I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. I'm like a head trip to listen to, cause I'm only giving you things you joke about with your friends inside your living room. The only difference is I got the balls to say it in front of y'all, and I don't gotta be false or sugarcoated at all. I just get on the mic and spit it, and whether you like to admit it, I just shit it better than 90% of you rappers out can. Then you wonder how can kids eat up these albums like volumes? It's funny, cause at the rate I'm going when I'm 30, I'll be the only person in a nursing home flirting, pinching nurses' asses when I'm jacking off of Jergens, and I'm jerking single person is a Slim Shady lurking. He could be working at Burger King, spitting on your onion rings, or in the parking lot circling, screaming, I don't give a fuck, with his windows down and his system up. So will the real Shady please stand up and put one of those fingers on each hand up and be proud to be out of your mind and out of control? And one more time, loud as you can. How does it go? I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up, please stand up. Guess there's a Slim Shady in all of us. Up it. Let's all stand up.
So with the advent of iTunes and iPods and iWhatever from Apple, I don't listen to the radio anymore. So what?
No, I was going to say, since Apple took over all media.
Bow before them.
Yes. Kiss Steve Jobs' ass.
I would.
Oh boy.
How about they kiss my ass instead?
Oh boy. Hold in your anger, Steve. Wait for that shot. Put it in, buddy. Wow, that sounds so wrong. Anyway.
But I have to let it go.
Oh.
No. Anyways.
The reason why I don't listen to radio is, me personally, is because, first of all, they play the same songs over and over and over every 3 hours.
Yeah.
No variety whatsoever. There's commercials. And I understand with satellite radio there's either no commercials or far less commercials. I wanted to get into satellite radio, but then I found iTunes. And it was free. Didn't have to do anything. It was free to get the software. Of course, you have to actually buy the music, but I don't mind doing that because it's all in one place. I know where everything is. And I can listen to whatever the hell I want to. I don't have to wait 4 hours to hear another Nickelback song or another Kelly Clarkson song. I don't know. You know.
Hold up. You don't like Eminem, but you'll listen to Kelly Clarkson?
She was Idol season of American Idol that I ever even enjoyed. I didn't even watch the damn show after that.
And you watch American Idol?
I've never watched that damn show.
I don't. No, now wait a minute here. Listen to what I said. I only ever watched the very first season of that show. I have not watched it since then.
You make me sick anyhow.
But you gave you're one of the people that gave Fox a reason to give it a second season.
Yeah, bastard.
That would be all the people that get paid by Nielsen.
That's true. Although I don't know why I got into podcasts. I really can't. I think it was. I know it was in 2004 when I got into it, and it was because iTunes added podcasts, added the ability to search for podcasts inside of iTunes, and I was like, "What's this all about?"
Yeah, that's the same thing with me. I started finding podcasts, I think, around late 2007, early 2008. And mainly the only reason why I even went there was because a Boston radio station said that they had they produced their show and put it on iTunes. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I can actually listen to it whenever I want to. And then I started finding other things. And then, of course, here we are, you know, our 10, 12, 15 show network, however the hell many shows we have on this damn network now.
Yes.
What about you, Steve?
Well, Yes, this all started with me, actually. I was doing character voices for fan dubs, and TFCog doing those Transformer ones, and kind of like doing the whole recording thing. So, anyways, somebody directed me over to TF Wire, which is a Transformer-related podcast.
Not anymore.
Well, like I said, was a TF-related podcast. Now it's just a dead zone. Anyhow, yeah, they were, I guess, looking for, right around the time I joined their forums, looking for a new host for a new podcast, which was War Stories. Basically, it was a throwback to the old time of radio, sitting there reading other people's stories, doing the character voices, the narrations, whatever. It only got 15 episodes. Kind of flopped. I can't stand to listen to myself speak on it because I drone on so bad. But yeah, that was my intro to podcasting, and then I guest hosted on the regular TF Wire once, and their podcast, and about 6 months after my show got canceled, I decided to start up All Things Transformers, and of course met you, and we created the GeekCast Radio Network. So
yes, but you know, it's just a great form of being able to express your opinion to people without people actually having to see you. I mean, yeah, I will do YouTube videos every now and then, like if I get something cool and I want to show it off now that I have this camera. But you know, honestly, it's like I'm in radio now. I don't know what it is. For the longest time, I always wanted to work on air at a radio station. In every city I ever lived in, I would always get in good with whatever radio station that I liked, with the DJs and everything else. And here now, it's like, holy crap! If you have a microphone and, you know, headset, you know, whatever, you can just start shooting the shit and talking about whatever you want to talk about, and it's just great. One downside is, don't get paid for it.
yeah, that is the only downside to it. I wish we did get paid for it.
And I will constantly always say that, but unfortunately, I think if we did get paid for it, all of the clips that we put into a lot of the shows, we would get sued for it because we're making money off of stuff. So, yeah, which we aren't. I want to point that out. We are not making any money off of any of this podcasting thing.
No, none whatsoever. But it is something great and fun to do, especially with the recent voice actor interviews we've done lately.
Oh yes, and we have another one coming up in January.
Plus, we have other podcasters constantly contacting us now due to those interviews.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Who have we collaborated? We've collaborated with you, Michael, now, because actually, how did that come about? Why don't you guys talk about that? How did it come about that Lunch Table ended up on our show?
That's Twitter.
Website. Oh.
Yes, it's all Twitter's fault.
that is strictly Twitter's fault.
Yeah. We will get into the social media aspect of this decade a little bit later. But you know, we've collaborated with you. I've collaborated with Brian Kilby from Radio Free Cybertron, Michael Dodd, David Dennis, Steve Snowball Sailor from This Week in Geek. Just a bunch of really, really cool people. Lupus Convoy, Optimus Scourge over from TFW 2005 forums. You know, it's just been really, really great doing this. And, you know, our podcasting, well, at least mine anyway, because Steve is usually only on one show every week, other than Headshot, because it really doesn't count. Even though it does, but technically it doesn't count because it's not on iTunes. Watch, now that I say that, he'll say, oh shit, I'm going to put it on iTunes now.
I can put it on iTunes for you.
No. But I mean, you know, just the plethora of stuff that we have coming up is just so awesome.
Well, that was a huge sidetrack. I'm glad everyone got the history of GeekCast Radio.
Well, we have.
Well, that happened this decade.
Yeah, that is true. It did happen this decade. But I mean, you know, it kind of ties into the whole music thing and radio and satellite radio and iTunes and all. So it kind of tied in a little bit. I guess we can go to. Sports. I'm only going to talk about a few of these. I'm not going to talk about a whole lot of them. I'm actually skipping all the way down to the listings of who won what, and I'm not really going to talk about any of the actual notable events.
You know what you should do? You should just record yourself reading them and then make them go by really fast in some audio post-processing and then drop it in.
No, I'm not doing that. As far as baseball goes, 2000 it was New York Yankees, who suck, defeated the Mets. The 2001 World Series, I was so ecstatic because I remember exactly where I was when this happened. I was in a Goodwill store, and I was watching some 60, 70-year-old TV or whatever, some TV back in the 50s. I know that's not 70 years from now, or since, whatever. And I watched the final out of TV or whatever, some TV back in the 50s. I know that's not 70 years from now, or since, whatever. And I watched the final out of the Diamondbacks versus the Yankees. I'm like, holy crap, hell yeah, New York lost. Woohoo! The 2002 World Series, the Angels versus the Giants. I truly believe that one was rigged because the Giants should have won that. The 2003 series. I will actually be talking about the 2003 ALCS because, again, New York Yankees robbed the Boston Red Sox. Fucking Aaron Boone, jackass. And then, of course, after 86 years in 2004, the Red Sox did a huge comeback and beat the St. Louis Cardinals. The other one that was a highlight for me was the 2007 one where the Red Sox again beat the Yankees and we beat the Colorado Rockies for the series. I find this one very interesting. For 2008 and 2009, in 2008, the Phillies won against the Rays, but in 2009, New York defeated the Phillies. I don't know, baseball is kind of weird sometimes. It's just weird seeing the, different names for me. I've always been a baseball fan, but it's weird looking at this list and seeing the different team names because you just don't think those teams would face off with each other.
Yeah, I've not really followed baseball too much, but I know in 2006, the Detroit Tigers almost had a shot at winning. They got to Game 5 and basically threw it. Yeah. But during that year, the funny part about it is, almost ended up getting to go to that game. Should they have had a Game 6 and 7. And what happened is I won a radio contest and won tickets to Game 7. And it was the same day Game 5 happened. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, so they flopped. So I was kind of pissed.
Yeah, but they're free tickets. How can you be ticked about that?
But he didn't.
Because I could have gone.
He didn't get to go because they lost.
That game never occurred.
Yeah.
But it was still cool to have at the time.
Yeah.
I have tickets to a game that didn't happen.
Yeah, so they're pretty much worthless now.
As far as
it would have been cool.
Yeah. Moving on to the NBA. When I was younger, I was a huge basketball fan. Huge all four major sports: football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. Because I'm originally from Boston, I was always a huge fan of all the Boston sports teams. I kind of lost interest in basketball until 2008 when the Celtics defeated the Lakers. That was just so awesome. And of course, some of the other years, the first 3 years of the decade, the Lakers won. Whatever. I don't know. I'm just not that much into basketball as I used to be when I was younger. I don't know. And of course, I guess we can move into the NFL. Main ones that stick out for me is the 2002 Super Bowl where the Patriots defeated the Rams. 2004, 2005 where the Patriots won again. Hope nobody on this show is a Colts fan. And
I'm gonna say no, because you're starting with the three sports that I know little to nothing about.
Oh, so basically I should have left the rugby information in?
No, I'm saying hockey.
Oh, okay.
I only pay attention to hockey for the most part.
Get to the hockey. But, no, 2008 Super Bowl, the Giants, they pretty much screwed the Patriots out of that. I remember the last 12 seconds of that game, Tom Brady had time to get a playoff, and some moron defensive coordinator or whatever was standing over in the sidelines, and he had his arms crossed across his chest. In one of his hands, he had a Super Bowl champion New York Giants hat. I saw it on camera. You don't bring out the merchandise until after the game is officially over, until the clock hits 0. So yeah, that's why I think the Patriots lost that. But anyway,
It jumped the gun.
Exactly. Guess we can get into the hockey now. So which one of you guys wants to take this? Because unfortunately, my team is not in any of this until at all in the last decade. The Bruins did not do anything, unfortunately.
So Steve claims to follow some of this. I actually have the same. I don't remember what sport it was. You just said a little bit ago you don't follow it as much as when you were younger. I'm the kind of the same way with hockey. When the strike happened, hockey came back, I could have kind of cared less.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was as well.
But before that, I watched my share of hockey games. I won't say which team, but I watched my fair share of hockey games, and then the strike happened, and I stopped watching because, I stopped caring. So you can take that. I don't know where that list is.
It's down here. It's page... I don't even know myself.
I see it. I have it. I think I can do this.
Okay.
Let's see, 2000, we had the New Jersey Devils over the Dallas Stars. 2001 saw the Colorado Avalanche over the New Jersey Devils.
Now, I do have to comment about this because I believe that was the year that Ray Bourque finally won a Stanley Cup.
Yes.
And Ray Bourque, as everybody knows, had been with the Bruins his entire career and never won one. So he told them that he wanted to go to a team where he could win a Stanley Cup, and everybody was so happy that he, I think that's the only time that I've been happy for a player that has left the team that I like. I'm not going to go back into my baseball spiel because we're on hockey now, but when Roger Clemens left the Red Sox, let's just say I was a very unhappy camper. So, continue.
Let's see, then in 2002 you have the Detroit Red Wings versus the Carolina Hurricanes. 2003 was the New Jersey Devils defeating the Mighty Ducks. I remember that because I don't remember what the deal was. I had some bet going with my roommate or something like that, and I said that there was I think I said I wanted the Ducks to win. I don't remember why, though.
Probably because of the movies.
No, I could care less about that. I don't know which team I wanted to win. Either way, I ended up winning it and throwing it into space because oh no, that's what it was. The Ducks tossed Detroit out of the playoffs to get there, and I kept telling him the Ducks are gonna kick the crap out of Detroit because Detroit sucks, and they did it. And so then there's Tampa Bay Lightning over the Calgary Flames, and then we have when I stopped watching hockey. In 2005 because of the lockout. Yep. Apparently nobody won that. Not even the fans. 2006 had the Carolina Hurricanes over the Edmonton Oilers. I don't remember that game at all.
I don't remember any of the last
07 was the Ducks over the Senators. I vaguely remember that matchup. 2008 was the Detroit Red Wings over the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then I do remember 2009, it was Pittsburgh over Detroit, and I wanted Pittsburgh to win, and they did.
Which is the complete opposite of the year before.
Exactly. The thing with me is that I tend to root against the favorite team, because I kind of like to... I just like seeing a good game. I mean, I do have my favorite teams, and if they're playing, I do root for them, even if they're the ones that are favored to win. But it's like I don't ever root for Detroit because it's kind of like, well, I don't ever root for the team that everybody wants to win, because when I was in college, I went to Grand Valley for a couple of years, and their team had, like, I don't remember what their win record was, but they had like 3 losses in like 4 years, and they were all playoff losses. And the thing was, it's like, you go to those games, and you want your school to win, but you go and you know they're going to win.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way Grand Valley played, they used like the no huddle offense for football, and they would just like steamroll their team, the other team. So by like halftime, the game was already in the bag. There was no coming back.
Yeah. And
so it's like, you go to those games and you already know who's going to win. So just root. I just root for the other team. It's like not fun for me to go to events like that. So if I see something, if there's like, like Detroit, I always root against Detroit, no matter who it is. It could be like the worst team in the league. I'm going to root against Detroit because Detroit has no reason to lose. They have like some of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
So, but that's how I am with all sports, not just hockey.
Yeah. Wasn't it last year that Detroit had the worst football team in history?
They always have the worst football team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's every year, isn't it?
Yeah, but didn't they go like 0-15 or 0-17 last year or whatever it was? I don't know. There was one year where the Detroit Lions went like 0-15 for the season. That
was just recently, but I remember back in, I think it was 2000, they were 0 and something, right? And at that point, anyone from Michigan was pretty much just rooting for them to have like a completely losing season. And they actually got one win that year, and I was ticked.
Yeah.
So I was like, really? If you're gonna fail epically. Don't try somewhere in the middle. It was really weird. I wasn't the only one that was like that too. It's like, oh, you guys had to go ahead and put that 1 in there? It looks so much better with that 0 and 16. Now you're 1 and 15. How can you feel good about yourself now? It's like, it's because if you make it into a math problem, it's like, 0 wins times 15 losses is still 0 wins. Right. But if you do 1 win times 15 losses, you still have 15 losses. Anyways, that was, yeah.
No, yeah. No, you're... Steve, do you have any comments on hockey?
Detroit rules. That's all I gotta say. No, I don't really care. I don't really watch.
If we want to spice this up, I've been a Colorado fan since they came into the league.
Now, Colorado and Detroit, though, they're a fun match to watch.
They
go against each other.
They were, and then like the whole thing with like Claude Lemieux happened, and then like there was the fight between Wall and Vernon. Like they used to be, and it was all fabricated. I don't know how it happened because the Colorado Avalanche, they were the Quebec Nordiques. How does Detroit have any kind of rivalry with the Quebec Nordiques?
Because they moved to America and they became Americans.
But that's the thing. It's like I would understand if the rivalry just moved with the team, but it's like the team moved, and all of a sudden Detroit and Colorado, that's the team. But it's like, okay, they move, the Quebec Nordiques, they move to Colorado and they get Waugh from Montreal. And all of a sudden it's some huge rivalry? I mean, it just seemed fabricated to me. And I will say this, it might make me look a little homosexual here. The reason I actually liked Colorado Avalanche to begin with was because I think their jerseys are fucking sweet.
I will fully agree with that. I mean,
now here's the thing. I don't agree with the little Bigfoot paw. I can understand how that's a little weird. I think that's a little weird, but other than that, their colors and the logo is fucking sweet. And from there, I was like, oh, now who are the players? Ooh. And the way I learned that is from playing NHL games on like the PlayStation 2.
Yes, always fun.
And speaking of which, that will be the next topic when we come back after this.
NHL video games?
No, video games in general. We'll be right back, damn it.
Boothninja. Holy shit.
Moving on to video games, which is majority of us have been wanting to talk about this for a while. The 2000s in video games. We start with the 6th generation of consoles. The 6th generation of video games officially began in 1998 with the introduction of the short-lived Dreamcast, which was discontinued in 2001. Sega announced at the World that they would no longer produce video game consoles after 2 straight underperforming consoles and became a third-party developer.
And that can actually be attributed to Sony trouncing it with the PlayStation 2 announcement.
Exactly.
Because as soon as the Dreamcast came out, Sony was like, "Oh, but wait, here's our next toy," and everybody waited.
Yep. Pretty much.
I've never been a Sega fan, so I could really care less about the Dreamcast. I understand that there are a lot of people that are attached to it at the hip for some reason.
I will fully admit that when the Dreamcast came out, I thought it was very cool. I thought the graphics were awesome on it. I never actually owned one, but my very first ever video game system was a Sega Master System. This was the first system Sega ever produced. It was before the Genesis.
So is that? I mean, is the love people have for Sega? Is that like the love that people have for Nintendo? Because I grew up with Nintendo was in my household. It wasn't Sega. It was Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so, but I know people that have had both, and they still have a love for Nintendo. But only people that have only ever grown up with Sega have a love with Sega.
Well, see, back whenever it was that I don't even remember the year that I got my Sega Master System. I don't know. It was probably right after the NES came out, and when the NES came out, it was super expensive. My mom said, "I'm not getting you that. It costs too much money," which I'm sure a lot of kids' moms back then said that. So she said, "You can get this." Well, okay, cool. And I sat there and played Alex Kidd and some Aztec Trooper, whatever the hell it was, Bo Jackson, RBI Baseball, and I don't know, just a whole bunch of cool games at the time. And then, of course, I went over to my cousin's house, who they had a Nintendo. And by 1990, when Super Mario Bros. 3 came out, I was hooked on Nintendo. I've said this before on a lot of our shows. I was born with a very mild case of cerebral palsy, so I play video games one-handed. I have pictures. I will send you a link or something later on to show you the proof. But, so yeah, I got, really proficient with the NES controller and then the Super NES controller. And then PlayStation comes along, which is basically a hyped-up super version of the Super Nintendo controller. And then these bastards at Xbox come along with this wide-ass controller that my fingers can't even reach halfway across the goddamn thing.
Don't worry, no one's could.
Exactly. I am fully a out of this generation of video games, I am a PlayStation fanboy.
I was a diehard fan of. I'm gonna say diehard fan of Nintendo because that was like the only thing that I knew. I mean, my cousin had a Sega Genesis, but it never caught on with me. I never went over to his house, played anything on the Sega Genesis, and came home and said, "I have to have that." In fact, one of the things I don't even remember is my mom insists that I ran all over the house, up and down, begging for a Super Nintendo for Christmas. I don't remember doing that. I remember getting a Super Nintendo for Christmas, but I don't ever remember asking for it. But I got a Super Nintendo and I played the hell out of that. Super Mario Land, Super Mario Land 2, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, all those games. I played the hell out of it. And then along comes the Nintendo 64. And, at the same time, the PlayStation came out. And I remember going to school and having those, like, cafeteria arguments with your friend. Oh, the Nintendo 64 can do this, but the PlayStation uses CDs. And, I remember having those arguments. And then along comes, this game called Final Fantasy VII, which, I saw, one summer, I think it was the summer of '96. I saw it in a magazine. I saw a picture of Cloud on a motorcycle. That was it. And it said, this is Final Fantasy VII. And at the time, Nintendo had released the Final Fantasy games in America, but they relabeled them Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3. And so the last one we had was 3, and it was like on the Super Nintendo, and I saw this picture, this little tiny screenshot, and like this beautifully rendered image of Cloud on a motorcycle, and I'm like, now that's cool. Because I watched my cousin play through Final Fantasy 3, which is actually Final Fantasy 6, and I was bored to tears. I don't understand how he could play that game, because I didn't get it, right? Yeah. And then I see this game, and it looks like this, I'm like, oh, I have to have it. And they're like, only on PlayStation. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I went out and reserved it, I paid it off, and then when it came out in 1997, I went and picked it up, and I bought a memory card, and I didn't get a PlayStation for another 4 months. But I had to have that game. I don't know why, and keep in mind, I had hated Final Fantasy, like just the idea of it, because it looked so boring. But this game being all high-tech, I was like, gotta have it. And from that point forward, I mean, the visuals that the PlayStation put out was completely amazing, not to mention that the price for video games on the PlayStation was capped at $50. And to buy a game for the Nintendo 64, towards the end, they were getting close to $100. And I understand that the Super Nintendo was the same way, but let's keep in mind, I wasn't buying games for the Super Nintendo. My parents were buying games for me for the Super Nintendo. So when you're the one buying your games, all of a sudden a $50 game that looks as good as a $100 game becomes a lot better.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it's like, oh, PlayStation 2? Oh, that's a no-brainer. Give me the PlayStation 2.
Before Steve gives his thoughts, I have one other thing to say about the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo, after it was discontinued and after all the games were discontinued, that's when I stopped supporting Nintendo. I really enjoy Super Smash Bros. On the N64, but again, the whole controller issue. When they changed the whole controller thing, you know. So, when I got my Super Nintendo, it was Christmas Day, 1992. I had not cleaned my room yet, and I was supposed to clean my room. I got pissed at my mom. I said, I'm not doing it. I'm sitting right here, and I'm playing this game. I played Super Mario World for 6.5 hours straight. Did not get up for anything. And I only ended up at castle number 3 by the time I was in bed.
Nice.
Steve, what are your thoughts on your beginning of video games or whatever?
Well, my beginning of video games, I'd have to say, started at when I used to go over to my friend's house because we had a computer. We weren't allowed to actually own anything else console-wise because they said, oh, you have a computer. But I used to go over to my friend's house and play Batman and Aladdin and everything on his Super NES. And then my cousin had a Sega Genesis, so we used to play like the Power Rangers and Boogerman and all that kind of gaming.
Yeah, I remember Aladdin
games, but
I was going to say, just to digress a little bit, I remember Aladdin more on the Genesis than I do on Super.
Oh, I played both because a couple years later I ended up buying a Game Boy. I ended up owning a SNES. I've played a friend's Nintendo 64. I've been mostly a Nintendo fan all the way. I do have a PS2. I did own a GameCube. I have a Nintendo Wii now in which I play Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Ninja Turtle Smash Up, and of course the latest Super Mario. It's the new Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, which is up to 4 players, and it's kind of like a cross between all the older Mario games, the side-scrolling ones. So it's actually pretty fun. Controls are very simplistic, very SNES-like.
Well, isn't it like more like the original NES where it's just a jump button and something else in the D-pad?
Yeah, they have the D-pad on there, and then they have the you got the 1 and 2 on the Wiimote, which is basically like
A and B.
Yeah, A and B or X and Y or whatever the hell they call it. But yeah, so I mean, it's actually pretty cool. It's like a 3D updated version of the old stuff.
Now, I've bought 2 copies of the game, one for my sister for Christmas and one for my parents for Christmas. I have not bought my copy for myself. I've been thinking about it, but I'm thinking 3 copies of the same game, I might want to borrow somebody else's.
Well, we actually played my mother-in-law's game first, which is how we decided we wanted it. it is very difficult, like the old Mario games, and it helps if you have a second person, because if you die, you come back as a bubble, and you gotta have the other player kind of break you out of the bubble.
Through it.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's you rely on the other person more so than you would have before.
Out of all the consoles listed here in this entire thing, of the 2000s, I have owned every single one, with the exception of the original Xbox and the Dreamcast. I have to say the ones that I'm most disappointed with are the Xbox 360 and the Nintendo Wii, and the GameCube. So the two Nintendo systems and all the Microsoft systems, I'm pretty disappointed with.
I am kind of right up there with you. Of course, like I said a second ago, after the Super Nintendo, I stopped supporting Nintendo, and I will not support Nintendo.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. You say you play games one-handed, so have you tried playing the Wii?
No, because you have to use both of the things, don't you?
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Because I won't play them with that wireless nunchuck and all that crap. I will only use the GameCube controller.
Like Wii Sports, some of the funner games only use the one remote.
Oh.
Like bowling.
Bowling.
Such an awesome game.
But when I first heard Microsoft was getting into the console market, I'm like, oh god, now what? I am just so completely against Xbox. I cannot stand that fucking system. Xbox 360, either one of them. I don't care. If they come out with a 970 or a 720 or whatever, I don't care. I will thoroughly thrash Xbox every chance I get.
Well, okay, my thing with the current generation, it's like I have a 360 for the simple fact that I bought an HD TV in the fall of 2006, and it was right around when the PlayStation 3 came out. And I went to the store, and I'm like, I have this nice HD TV, now I need something to play. Because we had this conversation the other day, okay, I hooked my PS2 up to my HD TV, and it looked like crap. I played a couple games, and I was like, I can't do this. This just looks awful. So I went to the store, and I was like, well, you have the $600 PlayStation 3, or you have the $300, or I think it was like $400 for the 360 at the time. I'm like, I have $400, I'll get the 360. So I got the 360. That's why I have it. I don't have it because I wanted it. I have it because I wanted something to use on my TV, and the PS3 was $200 more expensive than I was willing to pay. Right. That being said, in the first year alone, I had to send it in 2 times within 2 months to have it replaced, and since then, I've had to have it replaced 2 more times. So I've sent the 360 in 4 times.
That's pretty friggin' pathetic.
It is. It's a piece of crap system. The games are fun. The controller is actually nice. I do like the controller. Xbox Live is amazing. Even if it is a paid service, it's amazing. But my PlayStation 3, I like the PlayStation 2. I love that thing. It is a workhorse. One of the cool things with the current generation of consoles that the previous ones didn't have is they all have some form of online connectivity. And when the PlayStation 3 came out in 2006, one of the first things that was actually available for it was something called Folding at Home. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It's a Stanford computing project where they're using computer simulations to fold proteins to solve cancer, find cures for cancer and Alzheimer's and all that other kind of stuff. Well, a lot of computers have clients that you can download for Folding at Home, and what they do is they turn on when your screensaver comes on, and they will download these simulation packets, and they will use the spare processing cycles of your computer to crunch the numbers, and then they send the information back. Well, the PS3 is actually it's a workhorse, and the Stanford developed a client for the PS3. So when my PS3 goes into screensaver mode, it starts curing cancer. There isn't anything like that for the 360, or for the Wii for that matter. But the thing is that I leave my PS3 on almost all the time. My 360 is on only to play games, and I have never had a problem with my PS3 dying on me. But like I said, the 360's been replaced 4 times.
See, the 360 to me is basically just Microsoft's version of Vista for a console. That's all it is, really. Every time I hear about somebody like yourself saying you had all these problems with it, it's basically just Vista in a console.
Yeah, it's not. I'm going to disagree with you there. Xbox Live, the dashboard for Xbox, is completely separate. It is not running Windows. It's a completely different operating system. The thing is, the fault with the 360 comes with the design of the system. It wasn't originally supposed to have a hard drive on it, and in one of the last phases of designing it, they decided let's add a hard drive to it, and they had the enclosure set. So they're like, okay, well let's slap it onto one side. Well, what that did is it effectively cut off ventilation to anything on the inside. Okay, so it's concave, which means it's thin in the center and it's thick on the sides. So there's no room for airflow inside of it. So what was happening is the heat was building up inside, and it was warping the motherboard, and the motherboard was starting to sag with the chips on it, and then the chip would become dislodged, and then when the motherboard cooled, they wouldn't sync up properly anymore. That's the design flaw with the 360. It has nothing to do with the operating system. It has nothing to do with Live. It has everything to do with the design of it, and they haven't fixed it. I mean, they put smaller chips in it that consume less energy and produce less heat, but they're still having the problem with the red ring of death. And that's one of the reasons why the PS3 is so big, is because, yes, it's a very powerful machine, and it needs room to cool, and that's why it's so big. It's not big because what's in it is big, it's in it because it needs the airflow. And the interesting thing, and I had a conversation with my friend about this, is that I can put my hand on the PS3 and I can feel it sucking in cold air, and I can feel it spitting out hot air. On the 360, you only feel it spitting out hot air. You cannot feel it sucking in anything. So it's like it's just cooking itself, and if it's not properly ventilated, it's going to die. And that's a problem Microsoft's a bad company. They made a bad product, but it has nothing to do with I don't really want to say they designed a bad product. They designed a bad case. Yeah. It's kind of like a company made a bad laptop case or something, or a bad book bag, I guess. Right. It's not really what's in it. It's not the components. It's the shell. I mean, if they just changed it, made it a little bigger or whatever, I don't know. But I agree that they don't make. There are things that I don't like about Microsoft that maybe trickle over into my opinion of the 360 as a whole. And it also has to be with the fact that I am a Sony fanboy. But I, with the exception of the hardware failures, I don't have a problem with their system. So, and it's not Windows that it's running. It's a completely separate. It's a completely separate beast.
Right, and I understand that, but I was just comparing the two. Like, it's Microsoft. They have Windows and they have the Xbox 360. I was just saying that Windows Vista has all these problems. The Xbox 360 has all these problems because of it's not a software or it's not an operating system fault. It's a design flaw. So both of them have constant issues. Whereas the PS3, I've never heard anybody complain about their PS3.
But Sony at the same time creates quality product.
True.
And they actually care how it functions, whereas Microsoft is kind of like, we need to get this out here, we need to, compete with these guys. Not really, they've never been a good one to pay attention to quality control.
Very true.
Well, I don't know. I listen to a lot of gaming podcasts, and I read a lot of gaming blogs, and the thing that comes up most, the biggest difference between the 360 and the PS3, when it comes down to it, is game development. And you said it right, Steve. They do make quality products, but the problem with Sony is that they make quality products and they expect everybody to work with it. Whereas Microsoft goes, we're going to make a product, and it's a collaborative effort. Like the 360 was a collaborative effort. They went out to develop and said, what kind of environment do you want to work with? What kind of hardware do you want to work with? Blah, blah, blah. And Sony went, people be damned. We're going to make the best possible thing that we can make, and we're going to expect you to be able to develop a game for it. That is like that's the biggest hurdle this generation. That's one of the reasons why there's a big fight. It's because Sony did. They went out and made a quality product, and they were like, you guys be damned. You're going to make games for this whether you like it or not. And Microsoft went out and was like, how do you guys want to, what's the easiest way for you guys to make games? We'll make a box that sits under the TV that does that. It just depends on how you want to go about it. I mean, you can make a quality product, or you can do a collaborative product. I think both worked out okay, but
see, I always hear like when I watch say GameTrailers.com, special interviews with game developers or whatever, they'll say, "Oh, the PS3 lets us do so much more," and blah blah blah. I don't ever hear and of course you're not going to hear game developers complaining on air about different stuff, but I always hear all these good things and with both of them actually. But I mean, I don't ever hear anybody complaining about Sony saying, "Hey, look, we're just going to make this product, and you're going to have to do this."
If you listen to the guys that are saying that it's a good system, we can do so much more with it. Generally, those guys that are saying that tend to be first party guys that Sony owns, and that they make games exclusively for the PlayStation. Now, they're in. It's kind of, this is where video games gets kind of tricky, is with the idea of exclusivity. Okay, no, the idea of exclusivity actually went away. We can actually bring this back around in talking about this generation of consoles in the last decade. The idea of exclusivity has gone away this last decade. There are a handful of games now that are console specific. And generally, when it comes down to it, the games that are console specific are going to look better than a cross-platform game. Because when you do a cross-platform game, it's lowest common denominator. It's what held the original Xbox back, it's what held the GameCube back, and it's what made the PS2 so successful. Because the PS2, believe it or not, in the early part of this decade, was the worst, had the worst hardware in it. The Xbox had the second best, and the GameCube had the best hardware in it. Yeah. But you had to develop, if you were a publisher or a developer and you wanted to make a lot of money, you made a game for all three systems. But you started with your lowest common denominator, and since your art assets are already rendered that way, you don't really want to spend the money to, what's the word I'm looking for? Optimize it for two other consoles. So, right. Everything didn't look so well. But so when you have it's the same thing here too. When you have a game, like when you have companies like EA and Activision, and they're making a game for the 360 and the PS3, they have to go with the lowest common denominator. And in the beginning, it was I don't really think there is a lowest common denominator. A lot of people say if you start on the 360 and you go to the PS3, you're going to run into problems. And then now a lot of people are saying if you start on the PS3, it's easier to go to the 360. The difference is in the PS3 allows you to do more if you're doing like an exclusive game, because there's I've never actually been able to figure out how to explain this, because I don't really understand it myself. But it has a cell processor in it. And the cell processor is basically, I think it's 7 tiny processors being controlled by one master processor. Okay? And you can tell those individual processors to do something different. Like you can say, I want this processor to handle the physics of my game. I want that one to handle the animation. I want that one to handle the snow, and that one to handle the water. And when you're making a single game for a single console, you can put your resources into, taking control of all of that. But when you're doing like a cross-platform game, you can't do that. Right. And that's where development comes down to. It's like, so when you have when you see those people who are like, it allows us to do so much more, it does allow them to do more because there's more processors in it. Mm-hmm. And they can be told what to do, whereas the 360 only has 3 processors in it.
Right. My problem with, say, EA or Activision or whoever you want, whatever game company you want to, talk about, say they release, I don't know, Tekken 6 on Xbox 360 and then on PS3. The majority, and I forget which game it was that did this. I don't know. Maybe you can remind me. But there was a game fighting game that for the 360 you could get these exclusive characters, but for the PS3 you could get this exclusive character. So
that was Soul Calibur.
Okay, Soul Calibur. So basically, they're telling you in order to get this character, we're not going to put it in all of the multi-platform games. We're going to put it in this one for this platform. So they're basically telling you that you have to buy that platform.
Okay, here's the thing with what you're talking about. It's as far as I know, the only game that's done this is Soul Calibur. Mm-hmm. They did it with Soul Calibur 2, and it was on they did this twice. Okay, they did it. The first time they did it was with Soul Calibur 2, and it was what was it? It was for the GameCube, the PS2, and the Xbox. And what they did is they took the mascots from each individual company and put them in. So Link was in Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube. On the PS3, it was some guy from Tekken, I think, was in Soul Calibur. And then on the Xbox, it was Spawn, which was kind of weird, right? So. But that was how they did that. So it's like, I don't know why you don't have a PS2 and want to play with Link. And I don't know many people that had a PS2 and didn't have a GameCube. But that's besides the point. The most recent time that they did it was with I think it was the 360 had Darth Vader.
Right, that's the one I'm talking about.
And the PS3 had Yoda. Later on, I think after this is where the idea of the exclusivity being wishy-washy here. Later on, they actually made both characters available for both systems via DLC.
Okay, and that's fine, but that was the ones that I was talking about, the Vader and the Yoda, with them being on each system, and I'm like, wait, so even if I had a PS3 or Xbox 360, if I wanted to play as the other character, I would have to then go out and buy that other system. And that was like, that's not right.
Or you can wait 6 months and pay $2.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I do. But see, the thing is, like, with this advent of, with towards the end of this decade, with all the consoles being online, all the consoles having internal storage, brings about this whole wave of the idea of DLC, which has not really been anything that hasn't been possible before. But that also brings about a whole other thing, a whole other big thing with games this decade, is that games can ship unfinished, and they will release a patch. Like the console game is becoming much more PC-like, where they'll build a game, they'll test it, they'll ship it, and if people go online and they complain about it, they can release a patch to fix something. I remember back in the days when consoles weren't online, and that game had to be finished.
Yeah.
It had to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's a departure from the previous generation of hardware to this one. And the other thing is, like, now you've got rumors of developers making games, and then I shouldn't say it's a rumor because this is actually happening. It's actually been confirmed to be happening, but developers making a game and then purposely removing bits of content to charge for it later.
Yeah, they want to make the most money out of it. They want to suck you into the game price, which whatever Xbox 360 and PS games run, $50-$60, and then 2 months down the line, they want an additional $2 or $3 for downloadable content, so they can continue making money on that game.
Now, two things have come to light here with this: is that there was a game that came out just recently for the 360 and the PS3 and for PC called Borderlands. Okay. Game is a lot of fun. I have it. I paid $60 for it, got it the day it came out. I've played the hell out of that game. I love that game. Right after the game came, even like the day before the game came out, they're like, we're going to have DLC at the end of October, and it's going to be $10. And the whole internet exploded in anger. Like your game's not even out. Why are you announcing DLC? Why isn't this in the game? Why couldn't we just... It basically came down to, why couldn't we wait another month for the game to have the content be in the game? And the developer came forward, and they said that the way DLC works is that when we're wrapping up on a game and we're play testing it, the first thing that sheds, the first part of the team that goes away when we're finishing a game is the art department. Instead of having them sitting at their desk, twiddling their thumbs, they go back to work. And they think about other things that they can do, other things that they can make. And they start working on that. And then as other teams come off, they go and work with them on that stuff. So that the game actually has to go through a certification process. And to throw in extra content during the certification process makes everything have to start all over again. So they came out and they said that, and that totally made sense to me. And then but truth be told, I got $60 out of Borderlands. Okay, so I was happy to pay $10 at the end of October, and I paid $10 more at the end of this month. Because today, DLC came out for the game. I paid $10 for that too. Totally fine with that. Love the game. I just recently finished playing Assassin's Creed 2. The developer actually came forward and said, because there's two missing, I don't know if anyone's familiar with how Assassin's Creed works, but there's two missing memory segments in the game. Okay? And it's like kind of like right in the middle towards the end of the game, they're missing. And the developer came out and said, because people were asking why are they missing, and the developer came out and said they're missing because we had to have the product done and out by a certain date. So we were either going to have those the memory segments in there, or we were going to miss our street date, so they decided to pull the memory segments from the game so they could finish it by the time it had to be released.
Right.
Now, people are pissed because first of all, they're finishing that content, and they're going to re-release it for $5. Okay? People are pissed about that.
Right.
Again, I played all the way through Assassin's Creed 2. I loved it way more than the first one. I totally feel like I got $60 out of the game. I have no problem dropping another $5 on it. I don't. And because it was finished after the fact, I mean, they pulled it. It was incomplete stuff. They pulled it from the game so that it could be out by a certain date. They had to go back and work on it again. Those people need to be paid.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, unless it's that's the other thing that came around in the last decade that I hear a lot about right now on the internet. Is somehow the internet has given people a sense of entitlement. Like, if it's not free, they're pissed.
Now, see, that's people always ask me, well, why do you buy your music on iTunes? Why don't you just go on the internet and find it for free? Because I want a good quality version of a song that I like, and I don't mind paying 99 cents a song up to, I think, the most...
$1.30.
Well, for albums, the most iTunes charges is like $13.99 or $11.99 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm paying that because I know it's a good quality version. I don't have to worry about going on fucking LimeWire, which every time I've downloaded LimeWire in the last 5 years, it has pretty much crashed my computer. And I don't really care. I mean, there are certain things that you have to get on the internet that, I'm hoping are free, but I really don't care if I have to pay for something.
Along with that sense of entitlement, and maybe you guys can get on board here too, I had this, it was in Wired, an article in Wired just recently. It was really interesting. It was, and this is coming out of this decade. I think it's the generation that's living through this decade right now. It was called like the good enough generation. And I read the article and it kind of it made sense. It's like people like and a lot of it had to do with iTunes. Like they reference iTunes and the MP3s in there, and they reference like that flip video camera that's really popular right now for YouTube, and they reference YouTube itself. Granted, YouTube is great, iTunes is great, but they talked about like MP3s is totally like a good enough generation thing. Like MP3 is lower quality than a CD, it's lower quality than vinyl, and it's like, but it's good enough for people to listen to. The flip video cameras captures video that's good enough to share with your friends.
The difference is with Flip now that because I've actually been looking into Flip. I actually want one of those. I was looking at the Flip HD, and it looks 10 times better than anything else I've seen as far as a actual video camera. Outside of the iPhone, I would say Flip is probably the best thing I've seen.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but and that's not really what I'm saying. I'm saying like that video, like when the article was written from the standpoint of you have this $100 flip camera, right? This flip video camera versus this $800 Sony HD camcorder, you know, blah blah blah. It's like but that flip camera is good enough to capture whatever you want to capture. So it's like I think you might be missing what I'm trying to say. It's like my generation, I'd rather have that $800 Sony camera. I don't want the little flip camera. If I'm going to take the time to sit down and shoot something, I want it to look good. It's kind of. Do you guys know who Patrick Norton is? He was a host on Tech. Okay. I heard him say this. I don't think he coined the phrase. It was about YouTube. It was like if you put garbage into YouTube, you're going to get garbage out. Because YouTube compresses your video when you host it up. Right. And so it's like if you start, and this happens with any kind of compression. If you start with a shitty file and you compress that, it's going to look even shittier. So when you're compressing something, you want it to start as good as it possibly can. And so it's kind of like, why would I want to shoot a camera? And obviously the video you shoot with Flip can probably be posted right to YouTube. Right. But I'd rather shoot a video on that $800 camera to start with a good source and go down. And basically they're saying that the current generation of buyers, the video that the flip camera or like the Flip HD even captures, or like the iPhone captures, that stuff is just good enough. You know, and they say that about Netflix and Hulu, that content is just good enough. It's like why Blu-ray isn't taking off is because, you know, Blu-ray is for people like me and like you guys. It's like you guys want our generation tends to want the best of what there is to offer, where other people are simply content with, you know, the quality of Hulu or the quality of Netflix. Right. Go ahead. That's just something that's come out of this last decade. I really think has come out of this last decade, especially with, like you said, the economic crunch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, one of the reasons why I like the way the Flip Minnow specifically looks is because, as I said before, I have this cerebral palsy, so I use my left hand. I am a left-handed person. So all these other video cameras, all the way since back in the 80s when video cameras were first introduced, they're all for right-handed fucking people. You know, and the Flip, it's for either or because the button is right there on the front of it, and you can just go.
I can see that.
Whether it's quality or not, as far as the video, that's fine. I can agree or disagree either way. But I think we're going to go into a quick break, and then we will come back. We'll be right back.
Yeah. A used pink bathrobe, a rare mint snow globe, a Smurf TV tray I bought on eBay. My house is filled with this crap, shows up in bubble wrap most every day. What I bought on eBay. Tell me why I need another pet rock. Tell me why I got that Alpha alarm clock. Tell me why I bid on Shatner's old toupee. They had it on eBay. I'll buy your knick-knack. Just check my feet. buy some Beanie Babies new with tag from some guy I've never met in Norway. Found him on eBay. I am the type who is liable to snipe you with 2 seconds left to go. Whoa. Got PayPal or Visa, whatever'll please ya, as long as I've got the dough. I'll buy your tchotchkes, sell me your watch, please. I'll buy. I'm highest bidder. John keeps arriving in the mail from that worldwide garage sale. Dukes of Hazzard, Dukes of Hazzard ashtray. Oh yeah, I bought it on eBay. Wanna buy a Pac-Man Fever lunchbox? Wanna buy a case of vintage tube socks? Wanna buy a Kleenex used by Dr. Dre? Found it on eBay. Wanna buy that Farrah Fawcett poster? Has dispensers and a toaster. Don't know why. The kind of stuff you throw away. I'll buy on eBay what I bought on eBay. Wow, yeah! You got a 65 Chevy Malibu with automatic drive, a custom paint job too. I'll trade you for my old wheelbarrow and a slightly used sombrero, and I'll even throw in a stapler if you insist. Craigslist! I'm on Craigslist, baby, come on! Yeah. Well, we shared a quick glance Saturday at the mall. I never took a chance, never approached you at all. You were a blonde half Asian with a bad case of gas. I was wearing red Speedos and a hockey mask. Come on, let's find that love connection that we missed. On Craigslist! Yeah, Craigslist, come on! I'm on Craigslist! Well, baby, maybe you are too. Keep on the choke and don't be bamboo. An open letter to the snotty barista at the Coffee Bean on San Vicente Boulevard. I know there were 20 people behind me in line, but I was on a cell phone call with my mother. Didn't you see me hold up my index finger? That means I'll order my soy decaf hazelnut latte in just a couple minutes. So what's with the attitude, lady? No tip for you. Got a trash can of styrofoam peanuts. You can have them for free. You can drop by on the weekend and pick them up from me. But the trash can ain't part of the deal. Only giving you the peanuts. Get real, don't have no hefty bag. So bring your own. Don't bug me with questions on the phone. Don't ask for help. Don't waste my time. And don't complain, cause they won't cost you a dime. Just ask yourself, do you want my styrofoam peanuts? You can have my styrofoam peanuts. Do you want my styrofoam peanuts? You can have them all. They're on Craigslist! Yeah! Craigslist! Oh, baby, come on! I'm on Craigslist, Craigslist, Craigslist! I'm on Craigslist, Craigslist, Craigslist now! Craigslist!
So the last thing that we're going to be talking about is social media. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but social media pretty much picked up in 2006 with MySpace, correct?
Let me just fact check that for you.
Yeah, exactly. I believe it was 2006. Has MySpace been out more than 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah, MySpace was like a hidden. If you really want to get into this thing, you might as well just start talking about LiveJournal.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. It does. Yeah, it started August 9th, 2006.
At least I was right about something.
No. Sorry, that was the 100 millionth account. Was on August 9th, 2006. MySpace became the most popular social networking site in the United States in June 2006.
Okay, well, it's still, at least I got the year.
2006. You got, nope. Both were all wrong. August 2003.
Well, Steve didn't say anything. Okay, all right, 2003, okay. Like I said, it was pretty much a hidden gem. It pretty much took off like 2004, 2005, 2006. When I first heard about MySpace, I'm like, okay, it's just another, and I think a lot of people thought this at first. Okay, it's just another dating website or some sort of, I don't think people really grasped the purpose of MySpace, and I resisted. I heard people talking about it all the time, and when there's something popular out there that I really don't care to know about, I completely ignore it until like 2 or 3 years later.
I ignored MySpace.
Yeah, I did too. The only reason why I even have an account now is so I can keep up with some of my favorite bands, and that's pretty much all MySpace is now, is for pretty much music.
I had a LiveJournal, and then everyone started, I actually used a LiveJournal for a couple of years, and I kind of got out of that, and I never really got the whole MySpace. I knew about it, knew it was there. I looked at a couple MySpace pages. The one thing I've always found MySpace to be aesthetically unappealing. Mm-hmm. And it took, back in the day when it first launched, it would take forever for a page to load.
Oh, yeah.
Still does.
Yeah, it does. It takes forever. My extent of MySpace is what I said. I use it to keep track of the bands that I like. Other than that, it's useless.
I think my first social media thing was Facebook.
I came late to Facebook. Mine was Twitter. I first started getting in on the whole Twitter thing when I had iPhone. And one of the reasons why I like Twitter the best out of the three of them is because Twitter is instantaneously. Twitter is basically an instant messenger if you have a whole bunch of friends on it.
Yep, and now we have Google Wave, but that's another story.
I haven't even gone that way.
See, I started out on LiveJournal, and then I went from there to MySpace. I got bored. I still have the account for my LiveJournal somewhere. I just don't know. It hasn't been updated since 04 or 05 or something. But my MySpace, I completely deactivated it because I got tired of all the crap that came along with it, and it just took too damn long. So I actually jumped ship over to Twitter and Facebook, which I use quite frequently now. But
yeah, I got the Facebook thing I got into 2004, which is actually quite early on when it was still colleges only. And then I like you, Mike, I got into Twitter when I got my first iPhone.
Yeah.
Or or I guess it should be my second iPhone, because that's when all the apps came out for it. I got into Twitter then. So I didn't really start using it until I started doing, my mythical podcast. And I started using it to blast stuff out, and then I realized, I can use it to update my Facebook. And to be completely honest with you, I never really used Facebook all that. I mean, I had pictures that my friends put up. I changed my profile picture every once in a while. Sometimes I'd update my status or my about me. Add a couple movie quotes here and there. But the social media stuff didn't really take off for me until the iPhone.
Yeah. For me with Facebook, I only really got on there for finding old classmates, because this year, 2009, was my 10th year high school reunion. And I was going to try to see if I can reconnect with some old classmates and some old friends, and that's really the only reason why I first got on there. Now I am on there playing these fucking browser-based games and all this other crap, pretty much promoting anything to do with GeekCast Radio Network from any of our shows. It is actually how I was able to even get the Gary Chalk interview, because I messaged Gary Chalk asking him for an interview. It is the way that I finally was able to get a yes answer from David Kay for the interview for that. And Megatron, if you want to say your immortal line there, you can do that.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
There it goes. I was going to say, it didn't ding. It took forever. Damn it. Stupid ass Game Boy. But, I was like, oh, Facebook, what the hell? I wasn't really all that into it. I was more, and I still use Twitter more. I don't use it as much as I did when I had my iPhone, but I love TweetDeck. TweetDeck is the best desktop-based version of Twitter. Unless, of course, if I had a Mac, I could use Twitterific on the Mac, but I don't have that anymore.
See, I downloaded, a couple weeks ago, I downloaded every single Twitter client for the Mac that I could find that was high profile. I downloaded Twitterific, I downloaded TweetDeck, I downloaded Echofon, I have Tweety for the Mac. Mm-hmm. And you know what? All of them, with the exception of Tweety, I hate things that look out of place. I like my Mac to look, I like the applications on my Mac to look unified. Okay? The only Twitter application that looks like it belongs natively on a Mac is Tweety. And I'm going to say this too, the only app that looks like it belongs natively on the iPhone is Tweety. That guy knows what he is doing. He has made 2 amazing applications.
I can't speak for the ones on the Mac, but I'm sorry. Hands down, for the iPhone, is Twitterific. Looks awesome.
I can't. There's something about them that just annoys the crap out of me. They just don't. The utilization of what the phone's capabilities are not utilized very well. And I've used TweetDeck on there. I've used Twitterific, and just Tweety. Just there's something about it. It's amazing. It's fast. It's sleek. It's tiny. It's like, I think besides Echofon, it's the tiniest Twitter client there is for the Mac, or for the iPhone. But and TweetDeck is the same on the Mac as it is on Windows, because it runs in Adobe Air.
Yep.
So
I like it because you can pretty much organize who you're talking to in whatever column. Like, I have my Transformers Friends column, which is all pretty much everybody has to do with that's Transformers fans. Then I have the podcasting column and whatever else, and that's the reason why I like that. I really don't like the Twitter website at all.
No, me either.
I used to when I first heard about it. I'm like, okay, sign up for this, and then I found and then I found Twitterific on the iPhone. I'm like, oh, this is much better. Especially when they did that 2.0 update with coloring the replies and the direct messages and whatever else in different colors, so you could distinguish, which was what. But I guess we can talk to Steve, see what he thinks of Twitter. I don't know.
Well, see, actually with Twitter, I use the website. I don't use the applications.
Sad, sorry little man.
Bad Tim Allen joke. Toy Story 2 or Toy Story. But, yes, I actually I use the website. I don't really care for the applications, but that's because I'm already in my web browser, so it's not that high of a stretch for me.
If it's the only means for you to have, but I don't know, I was on there the other day updating the Secret Origins Twitter for the Secret Origins podcast coming February 2nd, 2010.
Shameless plug.
Yes, exactly. And, I'm like, why? Because I minimized it and I forgot that I was logged in. And I'm like, why does that say Twitter-2? It was notifying me that there was 2 new tweets. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't like that. Sign out. But yeah, overall, social media has pretty much taken off. I would say in the last 2 years, 2008, 2009.
There's some stuff though that I just have to wonder how long it's going to stick around for. I mean, it's well, you know what? And I actually take that back a little bit, because it's kind of like there was a time where it was like until the next big thing comes by, right? Where you had MySpace, and then the next big thing was Facebook. So, and I will say right now, Twitter is by itself. I mean, there's, I'm trying to think, what am I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Twitter is in a class of its own.
It's in a class of its own because there's nothing, and for the most part, so is Facebook. I mean, you've got some other things. You've got LinkedIn, and there's some other thing that I heard about on Dignation today that I was going to look into. But there was this last decade was also about the next big thing, like who is going to leapfrog you, and it seems like a lot of these companies are paying attention to their users, and they're very fast at giving their users what they want and how they want it. But that, Facebook and I said earlier that this is a generation of
it's just good enough.
No, not just good enough, but entitlement. That if it's not free, I don't want it. Right. But if a service is free, and this is, I'm taking this right from what the hell am I? God, I cannot think today. It's getting late. Okay, I'm taking this right from Dignation. I can't remember if it was Alex Albrecht or Kevin Rose that said this, but it's kind of like this: Facebook and Twitter are giving you free stuff. Okay, if you don't like it, if you don't like changes that because Facebook just changed their privacy settings again. Okay, and they gave you a splash page that explained everything to you, and if you didn't read it, and your shit got fucked, and it got put out there on the internet, that's your problem. If you don't like it, don't use Facebook. They're giving you that stuff, they're giving you that, you're using that service for free. Okay? You shouldn't be... It's kind of like how I said earlier that I didn't vote, I can't complain.
Right.
I'm not paying for it. I can't complain about what you're doing. But if I have stuff on there that I don't want people to see, I can take my account and leave. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem, but there are people that do have problems when stuff like this happens. I mean, you see it all the time on Facebook. Someone's like, there's like some group, it's like, get 1 million people together so that Facebook will change its policy back or change the design back because we hate the new one.
Well, alright, well, I was more confused about it when the design, when the latest design changed. I was like, wait, what the hell is this? You know, and I wasn't really so much as pissed, I was just confused about it because I didn't see any notice from Facebook. I didn't get an email notification saying, oh, we're changing the design, or oh, we're changing this, or we're changing that. I got no word about it. Just one night, I logged out. Next morning, log in. Everything's fucking different.
That's the thing. The privacy thing you got when you had to when you should have gotten the privacy settings when you had to log in. If you were logged in when the privacy changes went into effect, your account wasn't affected by the change.
No. See, my thing was the
layout
change.
I use the Facebook client on the iPhone, so I never noticed when they changed that stuff.
Yeah. See, I used to too. But then I started using the website because the website kind of offered a little bit more than the iPhone client does.
Not anymore.
Okay, well,
I understand. You don't have that's.
So, you know, overall, my two main versions of social media or social networking, whatever the hell you want to call it, for this decade and probably for the next decade, it's Twitter and Facebook. MySpace, as I said before, is pretty much obsolete unless I want to know what's going on with a favorite band or something like that. I don't know. So do we want to go into some final thoughts on this first decade of this first decade of the new millennium? I guess, Steve, you can go first. You haven't really talked a whole lot.
Well, I would say that it kind of started off decent, went down a very jagged path very quickly within the first year, and has continued to spiral downward, and only now is starting to look like it's somewhat on the rise again. But yeah, over the last 10 years, there's been a ton of great innovations in terms of gaming, 3D for movies, all different kinds of new media platforms that have basically phased out and shot down the old stuff. Politics, I'm not going to get into because I could give a shit less.
No, we're not going to. No.
Because no matter what we say, it's always going to be in the giant toilet known as Congress. But yeah, so the last 10 years has been, like I said, pretty decent, but here's hoping that the next 10 years actually amount to something.
Yeah. Would you guys like to pick your favorite movie of the decade?
Oh, Jesus.
You have to ask a hard one, man.
I said earlier that the best franchise of the last... Well, okay. If I had to say franchise, I'm going to say Harry Potter. But if I had to say, see, it's a toss-up. I want to say Lord of the Rings, but Harry Potter's just been around all decade.
Yeah. What about you, Steve?
As sad as this is, my favorite movie of the decade, I would have to say is the new Star Trek movie.
What?
In terms of series,
yeah,
I would say probably I'd have to agree that Harry Potter would be the only one that's amounted to anything in the last 10 years.
Ow. Yeah, I disagree with that. But, anyway, because I don't like Harry Plopper or Lord of the Rings. For me, it's actually a tie between Iron Man and The Dark Knight.
Wow, way to go for end of the decade stuff. Both of you.
Oh, I mean, there were other good movies, but I mean, you know, alright, the best way I can equate it is when the 80s ended in 1989, Batman was termed the greatest movie of the decade, of that decade. Now, I'm not saying that Iron Man or The Dark Knight was coined as that, but, you know, for me, those two films are probably the best ones that I've seen as far as, like, action films. And we're not going to go into a whole bunch of other lists of different genre of film. But for me, those were the two that I enjoyed the most. Both the theatrical experience of going to the theater and seeing them, and having them on DVD.
Okay.
So I guess we are going to go into the closing. Michael, do you have anything else that you want to plug or pimp out or anything like that?
No, I don't want to plug or pimp out anything because I keep making promises and failing to deliver.
Hey, I constantly say I'm always available.
I hear you. I don't know what I do. I just keep piling shit on for me to do. I work 2 days a week, but I keep piling crap on for me to do. A lot of it just comes down to, and I tried to get him on the show tonight, but he got out of work late and he was tired and didn't want to come on. But I'm trying to get something where it's just me and my buddy, because him and I have a really good rapport. He works really late, and then his wife is asleep when he gets home, and they live in an apartment, so he doesn't have a lot of space to move around in, you know. Right. So we're trying to work out a schedule that him and I can sit down and knock out. I'm hoping to do like maybe a quick format show, somewhere between like an hour maybe. But him and I can talk forever about one thing. So, I've been trying to work on that with him for like the last like 3 months, and we just can't quite get it nailed down yet. So, but he's married, newly married, so that's part of the problem.
I know that. I know how that is. I know. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Thank you for joining us here on GeekCast Radio. There are several ways to get in contact with us and leave feedback for the show. The first is you can visit www.geekcastradio.com, find all the other GCRN podcasts as well as the lunch table there. The second is you can stop by PredaconEmpire.com/Nexus and get all your Transformers GCRN topics there. Third is you can leave the show feedback on iTunes. Please do this. We crave feedback. The fourth is you can visit earth-2.net. You can find our threads for the shows in their self-promotion section. And the fifth is the email address, which is steve@geekcastradio.com. We now have a voicemail line. Call us and leave us your thoughts on each episode. Be sure to say which show you're leaving the message for and your name. The number is 502-526-5821. You can follow us on Twitter. The show name there is GeekCast Radio. Mine is TFG1Mike. And Michael, what is your Twitter?
Boothninja81.
And Steve, what is yours?
SCP-21.
Wow, that actually kind of rhymed. Holy crap. Who the hell let Wheelie into this place? We hope you enjoyed this episode of GeekCast Radio. Wish you'll join us next time. For now, I am TFG1Mike with...
Steve Megatron Phillips.
And Mike Boothninja.
Saying thank you for listening, and until next year. See you in 2010, people. Bye.
See ya.
Where are you taking me? Into the Twitter sphere! Just got to work. Sitting in my chair now. Anyone know any good apps for my iPhone?
Craig, what are you doing?
I'm twittering. Did you get my tweets? I just twotted all over the place.
Huh? What's Twitter?
It's the latest social networking micro bloggy thingy.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Damn it, Darren! You are a young, hip, tech-savvy 20-something, and I will not let you turn into my father! Come on! Where are you taking me? Into the Twitter sphere!
Twitter!
Whoa. What is this place?
It's a magical world! With Twitter, you can tell everyone what you're doing or thinking at all times, no matter how trivial, mundane, or embarrassing.
Watching TV with my cat.
I forgot how much I like pickles.
At the free clinic. Uh-oh.
Who are they talking to?
No one and everyone.
Darren, this is how our generation communicates now. With detached, bite-sized, yippity-yap.
Okay, but I don't care what other people are doing every second of the day.
Well, no, neither do I. But we do want other people knowing what we're doing, right?
No. Why is everyone such an exhibitionist all of a sudden?
Don't you Twitter stand? You can become a Twitter celebrity, like these twits.
Hot sake and cold unagi. Is there anything more sublime?
Twitter.
I just connected my Bing Boing to my Flurb Flop with a new RSS twinkle I wrote.
Nice tweet, man! Yeah!
Twitter!
Dear Sunshine, I know we've disagreed in the past, but let's make amends today over margaritas at the beach.
Twitter.
How droll.
Fantastic twits.
Okay, it seems like Twittering is just randomly bragging about your unexceptional life.
Oh, now you're getting it.
Twitter!
Craig, you seem like a normal guy. Why are you doing this?
Because it's like I'm hanging out with my friends all the time.
Just found a parking space.
But if they were really your friends, wouldn't they call you personally to see how you're doing?
Shut up.
Friends don't just randomly shout into the darkness and hope someone's listening.
What are you trying to say?
Pick your next words wisely.
None of you have any friends!
Oh my god.
What's going on? You bastard! You summoned the Bale Whale!
What's the Veil Whale? What?
It means we're disconnected. When we're disconnected, we can't Twitter. If we can't Twitter, we don't exist.
People! You do exist! But you've become reliant on this constant self-affirmation! You're addicts! You need help!
You're right! We wasted our lives!
Craig! Craig, are you alright? It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get you help. Are you alright?
Yeah. Hold on. I've got to Twitter about this.
Ugh. Just imagine it's 11:59. Ball's gonna drop. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New
Year.
Happy New Year.
2010. Here's hoping it's much better than 2009.
I doubt it.
Shut up.
Dun dun dun.
suddenly, everything would go black.